Welcome to AM 605, real talk about how to prosper in challenging times. Featuring Vancouver's top realty, mortgage, and wealth advisors. Now, here are your hosts, Melissa Wu, Gary Chan, and Joe Tang.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to AM 605. Today is January the 3rd, Sunday's first episode of the year 2021. I'm Joe Tang.
I'm Melissa Wu.
I'm Gary Chan. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, obviously, new year, new beginning, very excited. So, what's new in terms of the real estate market, Melissa?
Real estate, every year in January, all homeowners actually will receive a mail-in of the BC assessment.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's very exciting. It's either like a lot of people often is quite surprised. Either it's like over-assessed or under-assessed, or they might not know why it's assessed a certain amount. So if you have any questions, if you feel it's over-assessed, that you're paying too much property tax, I can help you. You can inquiry and then we can look into the details why it's assessed at a certain price.
So from your professional opinion, like this year for the BC assessment, is it like in general, is it going up or is it going down or it depends on area or like property type?
In general, in Vancouver East and Vancouver West, if you look at, you can actually pull it online. In general, it's gone up about 10%. It depends on what kind of property. For higher end luxury homes, some of them actually might have gone down a little bit, 5%.
Right.
But in overall, any price point between 1.5 to 4 million, they've all averaged about 10% increase.
So how do they determine the BC assessment? I always see that they actually have the land value and also the building cost.
So BC assessment, like the value that you get today, it's determined in 2019 in July. So that's what it says. So it's not like a sale that just happened like 2 months ago or just like recently. So it's back in the 6 months ago, right? So what the BCSS authority use is they pull up like recent sold in the area. And then they just come up with, they feel like this is an apple-to-apple comparison. And then so they just kind of evaluate based on 3 similar properties.
3 similar properties.
Yes.
Okay.
So if there are no sold properties, then they will just, kind of like evaluate what is nearby.
Yeah.
Kind of like what's active on the market.
Right.
There might not be any sold.
Yeah, because every block,
Sometimes that happens. So you can definitely find a lot of information on the BC assessment website.
So do people like it when the property value went up or went down?
It depends. So it really depends. Like, okay, so if I was a homeowner, I'm gonna live in this house. Of course, I don't want it to go up because then it means my property tax is going up.
So the property tax is based on the BC assessment?
Yes. It's approximately $4,000 for every $1 million assessment.
Okay.
So, for example, if one of my clients, he built a home with improvements, cost him like over $3 million for construction in Richmond, but the assessment came out that the improvement is only $1.2 million, and he's on the market trying to sell the property. Right. So in a way, then he would want to call or appeal. Because even when the buyer comes, they want to pay a higher price, the bank would not approve the mortgage. Right, so I think banks sometimes look at the BC assessment as well, right, Gary?
Oh, as a benchmark in the appraisal?
Yeah, they might just kind of look at it as a reference. And then so there's like the part when it's under assessed, you might not be able to get the mortgage.
Right.
Or the buyer don't feel comfortable paying that amount. But it's not like it's not worth that much. So that's why, like, if you, in January you have the 1 month window to kind of appeal this process, appeal a value that you feel is not correct.
So only this month?
Only within the January month. So you get it in the mail or you look it up online, and if it's not like what you think it is or what you feel it's not right, either over or under, then you can definitely call. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can contact me. I'm definitely more than happy. I've helped quite a few clients to do that.
So how common do people go through the reassessment? Because like you said, they're not really accurately comparing your house to your neighbors because there might be nothing sold in the area, nothing sold in your block. So how often does this actually occur? Like
So some people don't look at it or don't care. They just pay their property tax.
Right.
Some
Because they
peop-
live in there for a very long time. I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah.
So like some elderly, they might appeal.
Mm.
Like they might appeal because they just like it
Keep
was
paying higher and higher
over
tax
assess,
over
yeah.
the years.
Yeah.
Over the years, or they get their tax deferred.
Right.
They can apply for the property
Right.
tax to be deferred. So some people, a lot of sometimes sellers, they might want to appeal during this month because they feel it's under assessed.
Right.
Yes, I agree because some of my clients actually, they actually did a lot of renovations, maybe like $200,000, $300,000 of renovations into their home, but it's never reflected.
Yes,
into
never
the
reflect.
lease assessment.
Exactly.
Yes.
Same thing with one of my clients I helped last year in British property. When she moved in 3 years ago, she spent $700,000 doing reno.
Wow.
700,000, and that's not reflected because then the BC assessment said improvement is only
Because
200,000-300,000.
they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know. know.
Right.
So then it's up to the owner send in pictures, right, of all the improvements because she was in the market to sell. So she had to inform them with pictures and the reference, and then then the BC assessment got increased. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I was talking about because they don't actually come into your home or get into
They
your
don't-
property to
they
look
don't
at
come
what's
in.
going on. You may have done a lot of interior renovations and they have no idea what's going on.
But if you do the appeal, will they come in?
No, they don't. They just ask you for pictures or reference
Okay.
or email. Nobody even sometimes assessment they don't even come in right now, just with photos.
Okay.
And I guess the better question is how successful is it if you reassess or reappeal? Do they?
So if you want to increase it, but that's mostly what I do with the sellers. They never say much.
Okay.
They just because you're gonna pay more taxes, right?
Okay.
So hardly any objection. But
Right.
if you want to lower it, then you just have to wait and see what they say.
Okay. So I feel that depending on what the budget is.
Yeah,
Depending on the government
where
budget.
you want it to go up or down.
Really?
Yeah. So they might sometimes adjust a little bit lower, but
Yeah.
it doesn't. Just for a little bit of reduced property tax.
Right.
So how long does the process take? Like, is it going to be very long?
Pretty fast. We've got it in a couple weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. It doesn't take long at all. It's all an email and they just change the number and that's it. And it just
that's not
shows.
bad.
Yeah, it didn't take long at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what else is there to keep an eye on, or just basically look at the assessment, feel whether it's right or wrong?
So you have this one. Suppose maybe you're thinking I'm gonna sell in the summer.
Yeah.
This is the time to do something.
Okay.
If you want to do something.
So I got a question. So right now we can actually do the appeal, and then in general, how does it change the market? Because we just mentioned you just mentioned that the market actually went up around 10%, 8 to 10%, maybe from the BC assessment on the east side and the west side on Vancouver. And how does it affect the overall market? Will people expectation is it going to be higher? They expect because if you're seller looking at the new assessment, will they just all of a sudden they think, I can sell it for $100,000 more? How does it affect the market in a sense?
So the market is viewed, I think, a lot by interest rate, right? Because interest rate is quite low right now.
Yeah.
So monthly payments are lower.
Yes.
And then people are thinking because of the pandemic, they're staying at home a lot more.
Yes.
So there's a lot of trend that if you're qualified, then they want to upgrade.
Yes.
So for example, from an apartment to a house. So in Vancouver East, we see a lot of properties since from the beginning of 2019 to the end of 2019, it's gone up almost 20%, I would say, from 1.4 to 1.6. It's very common. Yeah, about 15 to 20% in Vancouver East in that price range.
Right.
In Vancouver West, it's also very similar situation. It's quite hot. If you price it right, you get multiple offer. Anything below 3 million in West Side, between 2 to 3 million, they're getting multiple offer when it's priced sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because there is a increase in demand and supply didn't increase,
Right.
so that's what's driving price going up, especially with the lower interest rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recently, we actually see a lot of clients actually just taking equity out and they're buying another place because they actually need more space. And I see more cases nowadays. We used to see the normal cases which they try to upsize, let's say from a condo to a townhouse to a duplex, or even a detached home. But now I'm actually seeing more of clients actually with a detached home already. They try to take out equity and buy another house, right? Because some of the clients like they're next generation, they're adults, but they're actually like they used to not work at home, but now they need to work at home.
Yeah.
So they just want to divide the space like between their generation, next generation,
Right.
so they have more space to use together, and they're buying around the same area as well too.
Okay.
So is it like a good idea to do that, or
To
like invest in the same area?
Yeah. If you're living in the area and you love it, you know the neighborhood, the most thing to consider is the location. And then sometimes like in our Asian culture, we like to live close to the parents.
Very true. Very true.
Like my mom and my dad, they can just swing by or drop me some like food that they make. So that's my family. So I think it's a good idea. Is if you're living and working and you like the community, the neighborhood, it's perfect to live close to your parents or relatives or friends.
All the benefits.
There's all these intangibles benefits, right? Food, helping you bring stuff in and take care of your house, or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
Or
Yes.
if you have babies, then they can help you do daycare.
Yeah, you can. drop
So
off the
what's
kids.
happening on your side?
So on my side of things with the markets, stock markets, obviously at the beginning, this is a brand new start of the year, and we want to be positioning ourselves where we can ideally beat the markets, right? So part of the strategy is to actively manage, and when I say actively manage, you want to be making adjustments on a monthly basis when we see fit, and reviewing the portfolios on a monthly basis just to see whether the holdings that we have are still good companies, right? Typically what I like to do is to have like maybe 25 to 30 different companies, because if you have anything more than 30, then you're spreading your capital, your money too thinly. So you want to make sure that your portfolio only has 30 companies in the portfolio. So some people would ask me, well, why don't you trade or buy and sell stocks on a week-to-week basis? Well, the reason for that is because every company has their balance sheets, have fundamentals. Week to week, the price of the company actually goes up and down based on behavioral finance, based on investor psychology. Where it really reaches the company's true potential is usually you need to give it some time. You need to give it about a month's time or even 3 months time for the company to reach the price target. So week to week, it can make a lot of money or it can lose a lot of money, but a lot of times with such short time frame is driven by more people's behavior versus the company's true fundamentals that are reaching its potential. Now, when I say that we want to be beating the index, what does that really mean? You want to outperform Dow Jones, for example. You want to outperform NASDAQ. You want to outperform the TSX. The first thing you need to understand is what is in those index. Like, for example, Dow Jones, what are the 30 companies that are in those indexes? Because you can't beat something if you don't know what's actually in the index itself. So number one, you got to really know what's in Dow Jones, for example. What are the 30 companies? And number two, if you want to beat the index, you have to be not buying the exact same things that are in the index themselves. Because if you're just buying exactly what's in Dow Jones or you're buying exactly what's in S&P 500, then you're just going to perform just like it. So the key of it is you may want to have, there are definitely some really good companies in Dow Jones or S&P 500 that you want to have. But in order to outperform, in order to truly add value, you want to pick companies that are really undervalued and less known to the public, but are still really, really good companies and less heard of. Those are the companies that you want to be picking out and adding to your portfolio. Yes, Gary. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you just mentioned about the two index, right?
Yeah.
So one is Dow Jones and one is S&P. S&P is there's too many companies.
Yeah.
So let's focus on Dow Jones.
Sure.
It's easier for me.
Yeah,
in a sense.
yeah.
So they have like 30 companies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in a sense, how do we let's say when we are actually trying to beat the index, and let's say we see a long-term growth on the index already.
Yeah.
Let's say we assume.
Yeah.
Okay. And should we just increase some of the positions of individual companies to reach a higher return, or how does that work?
That's a very good question. So, for example, Dow Jones has American Express, has Nike, has McDonald's.
If those are really good companies, we may consider adding them into your portfolio. But there's other companies like, let's say, for example, Caterpillar, Boralex, or MasterCard that are not in the index that are also very, very good companies, but you will want to add them into your portfolio as well because they may outperform some of the companies that are in the index.
So should we replace or should we just add?
Replace. So you don't want to buy exactly the same as what Dow Jones has because you just perform just like it. Where you really want to outperform Dow Jones, you want to have something that's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of increasing the position of Amex,
Yes.
then we just replace it with MasterCard or something else.
Exactly.
In the similar industry and field.
Or any other companies that we think that is high potential. It could be Apple, it could be Amazon, it could be PayPal, for example.
Then again, we need to look into the correlation of the whole industry in the index. Right?
Yeah, because yes.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
So like we're now at the beginning of the year, right? So what is like, you know how some companies there is cycle through the year?
Yes.
So what is the strategy that we can set for the whole year? And then so the cycle part, what kind of companies have their ups and downs during the whole year? And then what is the strategy and how you should allocate your portfolio? And then another thing, my last question is, how do you get the upside without the downside?
We
want to to that question. I just want to add on to that question because
I keep hearing some people say you can have the upside and then like control or manage the downside or without the downside.
Yeah. Oh, you had something to add.
Oh, I just want to add on to the question is that because I see some of the companies year end might not be necessarily like December 31st.
Yeah.
Or they have like different year end
dates,
right?
Yes.
So adding to that question that Melissa has, and then like how do we adjust that in a sense?
So I'll address the first question in terms of the cycle. I think when you're looking at the cycle, you have to. Every year is going to be very different because of government policies. 2021 is different because one, the vaccine is going to get distributed massively to general public. Two, we're going to print another. Well, not we. U.S. is going to print another $900 billion to the public again.
It's confirmed.
Confirmed. So
when is that going to happen?
It's going to start in January of
very soon. Okay.
Very soon, right? So when you talk about the cycles, every year is going to be very different because every year there's something that's differently happening, right? So right now, based on the vaccines are coming out, based on money's going to be printed. So as soon as the vaccines is massively distributed, the economy is going to reopen. So think about this. When the economy reopens, think about all the traditional companies.
We were talking about that last time. Traditional companies this year.
Exactly. The traditional companies, like not tech related, right? We're talking about, for example, it could be banks, the restaurants, it could be industrials, materials. These industries haven't started going up yet because we weren't sure when the economy is going to reopen, but it looks like it's going to happen sometime this year.
Do you think travel stocks would be good to buy? Or hotels or like airlines?
Yeah, tourism related.
Anything tourism related, I would hold off a little bit until we get more news about how effective the vaccine would be because it's so tied to the vaccine.
Yeah, the planes are empty. I see my friends on Instagram, they post like, oh, I'm flying private because like, nobody's on the plane.
Right? No, you're right. It's true, right? So that's why any tourism I'd be very, not concerned, but be very cautious of. I wouldn't add it yet.
And then another thing is they were like increasing the quarantine restriction.
Yeah, so I think like 40 days to 21 days.
Yeah, so one of our colleagues went to Hong Kong. He's quarantined to like a designated hotel for 3 weeks. That's like jail for 3 weeks.
Yep.
In a 100 square feet like hotel room in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, right?
Yeah. I'm like, and he's instant noodle. Nobody's allowed to visit.
No dim sum?
It's like, no dim sum.
You can't order takeout?
I'm not sure, but I've seen him always post instant noodles.
I thought you can order takeout, but
That's
so
sad.
Ondřej about
Who wants to go travel? Like
days.
sometimes your trip is just like 1 week to 3 weeks, right? If the whole time is quarantined, there's no point to travel.
There isn't, and that's why exactly to your point. Any tourism related stocks, airlines, hotels, like that kind of stuff, you want to hold off on because we're not sure when that industry is going to go back to normal. But the other stuff is like, okay, well, infrastructure wise, they should be coming back as soon as the economy truly reopens. Because even, let's say today, even the government comes out and say, hey, you can travel now. I highly doubt everybody's going to start traveling today. It's going to take 6 months, some time for people to get back used to it before it happens, right? So, but infrastructure, work related materials, like those are very different because it's going to happen. It's just a matter of like things picking back up again.
Oh, one more thing I want to mention. Commercial BC assessment's gone down.
Oh, how
Like
come?
retail space has gone down.
Oh,
So
makes
if you
sense.
take
Makes
a look
sense.
at Granville Street, the other day I was like just walking to Granville Street. So many empty
Stores, yeah.
And then Robson Street has been empty as well. A lot of like front retail, like clothing stores, they're empty. Retail.
We're waiting for new stores to come.
Actually, yeah.
More stores to come.
Like newer stores.
Newer
don't know what
stores?
I heard like it's gonna be like a lot of newer branding,
Yeah.
local companies are coming.
Oh, like local artists. But retail is so hard. Don't you find like a lot of people are shopping
On
online?
Robson?
Not that much now.
The Robson is really high, like lease rate. Right? It's one of the Canada's highest. So no wonder, like, after you pay the lease, there's nothing left.
Well, it's expensive. Robson and Granville's, they're expensive rents, right?
Yeah. So like, who can survive that kind of lease? So that's why like the BC assessment's gone down because the return on like the lease
Investment.
is
The cap
not
rate.
that great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to you answering your question,
right,
the
right.
strategy.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
The strategy.
I actually do have a question.
oh yes, sir.
So we just talk about. I'm thinking about the other side.
Right.
We just talk about if tourism actually opens up and then there might be more potential on those companies, right?
Yeah.
But let's say the other side is that like your colleague actually went back and the whole plane is empty. Can they still survive? I was wondering the whole airline. Is it really like? Is it like potentially going?
Could they go bankrupt?
Depending on which airline, right? Because in the States or even in Canada, we only have like 2 big
It's supported
airlines.
by government.
Exactly.
Some airlines are supported by government.
Exactly. So to answer your question, some airlines are not, some airlines are. So the ones are backed by the government, they're gonna be fine. Like the ones that we have in Canada, there's only 2. Those are like pretty much backed by the government. You can't have monopoly. If one of them goes, then one
It's
controls
very
the
interesting
price.
because WestJet before the pandemic sold $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He sold at the return before pandemic. He must have some kind of crystal ball, some fortune prediction.
Who did the assessment?
Like all-time high $1 billion,
Boom,
and then
just like that.
pandemic.
He sold it at the right time. He sold it at the right time.
Like super right time. He's just laughing all the way to the bank.
Smart move. Now he's onto other things, right? But it depends. So to answer your question, it depends on which airline and whether they're backed by the government, right? Yeah, but the strategy is, depending on where we are at in terms of the cycle, we want to do different things and buy different industries. At this very moment is to buy the industries that haven't really rebounded yet. As I mentioned, banks, utilities, industrials, materials, those haven't started rebounding just yet. So right now is to be putting money into those and then waiting for the next 3 months or so then for them to rebound as things reopen.
I guess we can cover this part next time. The upside without the downside.
For sure, we can definitely do
Very
that for
exciting.
them. 100% return but 0 risk.
Yes, that's right.
The $1 million
How to
question.
double your portfolio in 2021.
We can definitely do a topic like that.
Yeah.
So today we've kind of covered a lot of information. I believe it's been very informative. Thank you, Melissa. So until next time, and see you.
One
Bye.
more. Melissa mentioned that she has a lot of like Chinese calendar to hand out. So if anyone needs those calendars, please contact her.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, take care for now.
Happy New Year.
If you enjoyed listening to the podcast, you have to check out AM 605 on Facebook, where it's all about real investment and financing strategies. Brought to you by Melissa Wu PREC, Gary Chan Mortgage Team, and Tang Wealth and Investment.